Welcome to How It Works, a video series from Law Sites and LawNext, in which you get to see hands-on demonstrations of legal tech products directly from their developers. In today's episode, we're looking at Expert Radar, an AI-powered research platform developed by the Expert Institute that promises to revolutionize how attorneys conduct due diligence on expert witnesses. Joining me today to tell us all about it and show us how it works is Michael Talve, CEO of the Expert Institute. Michael, welcome to How It Works.
Thanks so much, Bob. Appreciate you having me. Good to see you.
Good to see you. And before we launch into a demo, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Expert Institute and about this Expert Radar that you launched not too long ago?
Thank you. Expert Institute is a vertical workflow technology platform that pairs litigators with the best expert witnesses for cases in all practice areas. Historically, we've had a real stronghold on healthcare and medical experts. So that means finding doctors, medical device specialists, pharmacologists for cases involving medical malpractice, personal injury, pharmaceutical mass torts. But over the last 7-8 years, the company's really expanded into all practice areas. And today we provide expert witnesses to small law firms and some of the biggest law firms in the world on thousands and thousands of cases each month across all industries and disciplines. We also have a team of physicians on staff who help to review and evaluate cases for merit, which is really more of a screening mechanism to help attorneys quickly decide if it's a case they'd like to take or not, if you're a plaintiff's lawyer working on contingency. And then, of course, we have Expert Radar, which is our data and information services platform that is monitoring and aggregating information about individuals who've been expert witnesses in the past, which I'll show you today. And it's a pretty revolutionary offering that is quite novel in the market, and it's become wildly popular with our customers.
I know you launched it earlier this year, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. So do you want to jump into showing us how it works?
Would love to. Thanks so much. Happy to. So this is the main dashboard for Expert IQ, which is our platform where customers can request experts for a search. They can order an Expert Radar. They can have a case evaluated and upload medical records to be considered by a specialist in any discipline of medicine. And I'll jump right into Expert Radar for a moment. And I'll show you one real candidate profile that would have been produced. And Expert Radar is broken out into a couple of distinct segments of information. So professional, which is all these categories of data, risk and credibility, which will show all these different categories of information, like social media activity, if anybody has disciplinary actions or anything adverse in a background check, litigation activity, which is probably what the product is best known for and most utilized for, which will show every case that individual's ever been an expert witness in and in front of which judge on behalf of which law firm. And then it uses large language models and AI to process all of the data publicly available for each one of those cases. So if it's all right with you, I'll jump right into the litigation activity section.
That'd be great. I'd love to see it.
So what you'll see here for this individual is every case they've ever been an expert witness in, plaintiff, defense, by location. And you could click into any one of these states and it'll actually filter out the results. If you only wanted to see the cases in Pennsylvania or in California, you could do that. You get a timeline of activity. So you'll see here that in 2011, this person was an expert witness one time. You'll see here that his testimony had been challenged once here, and that's what each of these bars represents. You can see the area of law for each one of these different cases that he's been an expert witness in. And then down here, you start seeing the various firms that he may have been retained by or working on behalf of, firms that he would have opposed, and the judges that he would have appeared in front of. And of course, you can click onto this filter segment if you only wanted to see the results where he appeared in front of Judge Orlando, for instance. As I scroll down, and I can look at each one of the cases where this person's been an expert witness, sorted by recency, it'll also notify me if there's a challenge detected, and I can click into one of those examples, and I'll show you a couple of other really useful features for this product that our clients have gotten a ton of value out of. You can scroll through, you can look at each one of these cases, and of course, if I click into any one of them, I'll start to see the description of the matter, which AI is able to use and generate, all derived from the various court documents that are available in the public domain, meaning the docket and the filing and the pleading. And if I wanted to take it a step further, I'll give you a for instance in the way that many of our clients use the product. They might be working on a case that involves opioids, for instance, and they just want to do a keyword search. This is our global search feature. And what you'll notice now is the results have been reduced. Of the 30 expert witness litigation instances, only 3 include the term opioids, and only 2 of the challenges also include the term opioids. Now you've got one case in California and one case in Florida. And I can scroll down and it'll show me each of those cases. And I can now look, here's one case where in Florida, his testimony had been challenged. The term opioids exists somewhere in the materials, which I'll identify in a second. So again, I'm getting a description of the matter. You can see the judge, you can see a bunch of other information. And I can find that in this pleading, buried in one of these documents, the term opioid exists. So now as I zoom in, the product has brought me right into these documents, which for a human to do this, there could be thousands and thousands of pages of materials to consider and review. And it very efficiently can bring me to information that otherwise may have required countless human hours to identify. Mm-hmm. You'll also notice it'll show us here who the plaintiff's counsel is, firm and lawyer. It'll tell us who the defendant's counsel is as well. So our customers get a ton of value out of Expert Radar for that reason. I'd love to show you one other feature of it, if it's okay with you, Bob.
I'd love to, but could I ask you one question about that? I'm curious how often that data is updated on the experts.
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's updated in real time, and we've got thousands of data elements that are constantly monitoring and changing. And you'll even get a change log where it says history and the links, and it'll let you know every time new information's been identified or revealed. I'm going to take the term opioids out so the change log becomes more accurate. But here you'll see, just as recently as 10 days ago, new news or media information was identified and updated to this individual's profile.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Thanks.
Sure. So again, I'll type in the term opioids just as a for instance, since we know that this expert has been involved in cases involving opioids. And I can scroll down, see that there's one publication that also includes the term opioids. So for our customers, this product can save them a tremendous amount of time. Here we find one media and news instance where the term opioids exists. And without this tool, he's mentioned in 277 different news articles, and it might be really difficult to sift through all that information efficiently and find key terms that are relevant to a particular case. So it ends up being a really tremendous time saver. The other highly valuable aspect of the product is while this individual has a fairly unique name, it's not unusual for us to come across other experts who have names that are maybe a little bit more common, where there might be 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or hundreds of people with the exact same name. And what that means for data scientists is you end up with a lot of false positives. And you could be looking at litigation records or cases or publications or disciplinary actions or background check information that don't relate to the expert witness in question. And we've trained using AI this system to very accurately identify information that is in fact relevant and sort out and remove information that doesn't relate to the individual in question. So in short, Expert Radar, tremendous time saver for our customers. It's the most comprehensive research tool in the market for aggregating and monitoring information about expert witnesses. And it's being used by customers now in all 50 states, and every day we're hearing about its utility and how it is helping clients find information about, I'll give you another for instance. We just had a customer tell us about a case where there was an expert on the defense who had suggested that the treatment of a patient was completely adequate and met the standard of care, and that was his testimony at trial. However, he had published a book chapter several years earlier that by using Radar and searching for a very specific term, our client was able to find a book chapter where this doctor said something that completely contradicted his testimony in this particular case. And our customer told us that without that information, there's a good chance he wouldn't have been able to win this case and convince jurors that the doctor's testimony was inaccurate.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that can be hard to find and that's important to find. Let me ask you, is the primary use case for this doing due diligence on your opponent's experts, or are your customers also using it to do due diligence on their own experts, I guess?
Great question. When we first released Expert Radar, the reality is most of this information is the data that we, as an expert search business, had relied on for years. And we'd been building out all of the foundational elements of this product for many years because we needed all this data to verify and credential and confirm that we were finding the perfect match expert witness for every one of our customers. What we didn't appreciate was just how valuable this information would be for our clients when evaluating opposing experts. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, right now, about 2/3 of our business for Expert Radar is actually coming from clients who are evaluating opposing experts.
Yeah, that makes sense. And if I was using this as a lawyer, one of the questions I think I would have is how confident I can be that you've got kind of all the key data sources covered. So, I mean, can you tell us at all kind of about how exhaustive the coverage is here?
I'd love to. I don't believe there is a more comprehensive solution available, nor would it be feasible for any one human. For argument's sake, if they were to spend all of their time identifying the thousands of unique data sources that we monitor on a live basis, even if they went and spent countless days aggregating all these information sources, creating usernames and passwords to log into every court system around the country, big and small, some of the biggest information service providers that we have developed API relationships with to access this data, all the publishers, all of the criminal background check information, payments that they may have received from their industry, every media or news mention or social media mention, even if they were to check all those data sources on their own, in theory, their work is stale the following day because maybe that person publishes a new article or is mentioned as an expert witness on a new case tomorrow or the day after. You'd have to go and recheck every one of these data sources again and again and again, which would be an impossible undertaking.
Well, that looks great. Is there anything else you'd like our listeners and viewers to know about this?
The only thing I'd add is, for many of our clients at this point, some of the top litigators around the country, they've even suggested to us that not using this information is borderline legal malpractice because you could be vulnerable in working with an expert witness who maybe has something that you wouldn't have found on your own, and you've retained that expert to represent your client, and that could be problematic. Conversely, you want to do your absolute best in advocating for your customer or your client if you're a litigator, and not having all the information available to you about an opposing expert would put you at a tremendous disadvantage. So if anybody's interested in learning more about the product, visit expertinstitute.com, and we'd be delighted to get the opportunity to work with more of your viewers and listeners. I know the show has a ton of great followers because you produce such awesome content. So,
well, thank you. And just to reiterate what you said at the outset, this is only one feature of your platform, and there's lots more to it beyond this. But Michael, thank you very much for joining today and showing us this product. It's really interesting.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
Well, that's it for this episode of How It Works. You can find the full series at directory.lawnext.com under the Resources tab, or you can find us on YouTube. And I hope you'll check out the full series. This is Bob Ambrogi. Thanks for watching.